I talk too much. I'm quite bright, so it's interesting, but nevertheless, I talk too much. Men hate it for a woman to blurt out, "I'm bright." They think what she's really saying is, "I'm brighter than you are." As a matter of fact, that is exactly what I'm saying. I am brighter than even the brightest men I know. That's why it's a mistake to talk too much. Men begin to grow hostile and feel challenged. So when I'm very attracted to a man, I make it a point that I talk way much slower than I would with one of my woman friends. And he ends up being terribly impressed with his own brilliance and with mine for being able to keep up with him. And he tells me that I am as interesting as one of his guy friends. And that is love. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Connie Martinez, and this piece that I just started off with is a monologue written by Jules Pfeiffer. But before I explain why I used it, I'm going to give you a little backstory. So you may be wondering what a 17-year-old is doing on a TED stage, or the whys and hows. And it's simple, really. I utilized a gift that we all have, and that's our voice. So, like I said, this monologue that I started with, I used it because I had a very strong connection with it. When I was younger, I was very talkative. On countless occasions, my parent-teacher conferences consisted of my teachers telling my parents how many times they had to move my seat because I would never shut up. But around my pre-teen to mid-teen era, I became more reserved. I became shy, insecure, and even antisocial. But around my junior year of high school, I wanted to change it all around. I wanted to end my senior year on the right foot, and I wanted it to be my best year I had yet. But the only way I knew how to do that was to get rid of all the negativity in my life and let go of everything that I was keeping in for so long. And the only way I knew how to do that was through writing. Around this time, I ironically watched a TED Talk by poet Sarah Kay. In that, 18-minute video, she had me. She had me. I wanted to do that. She had passion and charisma, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and so I did. The first time I performed spoken word poetry, it changed me. I was speaking about controversial and sensitive subjects. I made people look at me differently, and I made them look at different things in different perspectives. I knew that what I was saying had power. My words had an effect on people. When I first performed spoken word poetry was back in February of this year. It was in front of my whole school. Here I am, the only Latina performer in a Black Student Union assembly. It was a little strange for some people. But when I got off stage, I was bombarded with compliments. A teacher that I never had told me, "You had the power up there to shut everybody up and give them your attention. I can't even do that with my own classroom." Another teacher told me, "I've known you for 3 years, and I didn't even know you had the capability to do that." It wasn't easy to go away from all the negativity I had, but it was a change that needed to happen. I noticed that when I finally began to speak up, the people around me, especially men, they grew intimidated, hostile. Here I am, 17 years old, a minority, and a woman. I wasn't dealt with the best hand, but I knew and I learned how to play my cards. I didn't see these disadvantages as obstacles. I used them to push me farther, to make me break boundaries. I don't like boundaries at all. So I use these to get me farther. And I can tell you it's been the most amazing experience I've had so far. I strongly believe that everyone has a voice, and everyone should utilize it. Whether it's small things like speaking up to your Starbucks barista when they mess up your coffee order, or speaking up to a bully, or speaking up on activism. Now keep in mind, everyone's voice is different, and not everyone will get it like that. When I was in my stage of angstiness, I found a different voice. in writing, and then in poetry. And then I turned poetry on paper into poetry on a stage. I struck something in my peers and my teachers, just like Sarah struck something in me. I magnified a trait that I saw in her, for example, and I brought it into myself, and I made myself a better person, and I ended up changing the way people saw things. We, as adults, teachers, mentors, we can do what happened to me and bring it to everybody else by educating, inspiring, supporting. It was the ongoing support from the adults in my life that brought me here. And two of the lovely women in this audience are here right now. Now, to end this talk, it will only make sense to show you my voice, how I communicate with others through spoken word. This poem that I'm about to say holds a very special place in my heart, not only because of its content, but because it was the very first poem I performed in front of anybody this past February. This is a letter to everyone. Dear Black students, you put your fists up in the air, chant Black power, and preach about how Black lives matter, but in a country heavily divided by race, you will still draw white chalk lines between yourselves. Tell each other you are not Black if your skin is too amber, too honey, but Black men will still want women lighter than their mothers, lighter than their sisters. Young Latinas will wait on you hand and foot if you are as caramel as their frappuccinos, with colored eyes that have tints of blue and specks of green that remind them of Heineken bottles, rolled joints, and money they don't have. And they will tell you they want light-skinned, colored-eyed babies before they can even tell you what they want to major in. Yet you will criticize your woman when her weave isn't Brazilian or Indian, but put it on a pedestal if it's white enough. Shame them when they have the confidence to show off their real hair, and the only compliments they will know is how they are pretty for a Black girl. Dear white America that appropriates just about anything, you are so used to taking things and claiming it's yours. Put a hashtag on everything. Bring back our girls as if you haven't taken enough. Society will diss people of color, but will want to look for our features in someone white. You take our body, our style, our hair. On us, it's ghetto, it's ugly, it makes others uncomfortable, but it's chic, it's trendy, it's new on you. And then, when I call you out on it, you will call me a reverse racist and go on and blog about your day. Here is a lesson on privilege. Racism is based on a system of oppression. You cannot oppress the oppressor. Dear current generation, you tune out the discussions in your American government and history classes about the current events. Refuse to join in, refuse to understand, but bring up a debate on why marijuana should be legal, and suddenly everybody begins to itch. But no, you turn up the volume in your earphones, stare blankly at your Instagram feed, then have the audacity to say, "This isn't my problem." There are women too scared to walk down a street alone in fear of being catcalled, being told she was asking for it, yelling fire because no one will ever respond to rape. There are young boys too scared to walk down a street alone in fear of being stopped because of the skin they were born with, being frisked, yelling "don't shoot," but still feeling the bullets. Your own kin are being thrown back across borders every day. Your own kin are being killed every second of the day. People in the communities surrounding us see our faces and the melanin of our skin, say we won't make it anywhere in life besides the street, stick us under a stereotype, a statistic, but you still have the audacity to say, "This isn't my problem." Dear history teachers, we are taught about freedom, but voices are silenced. Words edited to fit pages with margins too thick and paper too thin. You will want to worship someone, something out of the norm, then those expressing their freedom will deride it. You see, people are so quick to defend problematic beliefs with freedom. Believe it or not, there are comics that make a mockery of 9/11. But how many people do you think ripped up those pages? So pull out your freedom card, paint a comic about the Paris massacre and practice what you preach, I ask you, if it was your God, will you still be pulling out Voltaire quotes? No God, no religion is ever violent, but we tie violence to faces, tie those faces to a religion and call it terrorism. You say you are Charlie, but I am not Charlie because I will not slander a religion so beautiful and call it a right. You say you are Charlie, but you are part of the problem. Call it what you will, but all you are doing is terrorizing the freedom of others. Dear friends, when you see an interracial couple hold hands, you joke around and say that this is what Martin Luther King died for, as if he asked to get murdered. I still can't comfortably walk these streets at night alone with a boy without the fear that he or I might get hurt. I hold down the hem of my dress and cover up my breast and prepare for the next stare, the next cat called. He pushes me off to his left side. He says to keep me safe, but I keep him in my peripheral vision, and I want to hold his hand to keep him safe too. But two oppressed people coming together is only double the trouble. Dear Trayvon, February marked 3 years, but you started fading after the 4th month, becoming another name on a list of slain black boys, another lyric in a rapper's verse. We worried more about a hood on a young black boy rather than the white hoods that already exist. Because let's face it, if the KKK were any other color but white, it would have been dismantled and labeled a domestic terrorist organization. Dear Emmett, it's been 60 years. Dear King, it's been 47 years. Dear Sean, it's been 8 years. Dear Oscar, it's been 6 years. Dear Brandon Franchise Jackson, it's been 4 years. Dear Tyree, Michael, Dante, and Izelle, it's been 9 months. Dear Eric, Walter, and Freddie, it's been 1 month. Dear next victim, you make me count and recount my loved ones every day, and when one doesn't show up, I count the bullet holes they leave behind. Dear Dr. King, I am sorry we have turned your dream into a nightmare we have yet to wake up from. Thank you.